Oh my gosh, it's really bright. Better? Better. Hello and welcome to my first book haul of 2023. That feels so weird to say, like we're in a futuristic year. Anyway, if you know me, you know that I own 1 billion books that I have not read yet. So should I be doing a book haul? Absolutely not. But here we are. We're just gonna ignore the fact that I have an entire cart already full of books I own but haven't read. So I hope you enjoy this book haul. I just love doing book hauls. And the first 2 books that I got are from Book of the Month. I'm actually so excited for both of these books. The first one is The Reunion, which is a romance. This book is about Liv, and she grew up on TV as the star of a popular teen drama. And now it's 20 years later and they're doing a reunion. And I just love that, especially as someone who went to film school. Books about characters on TV or like the film industry, I just think is so interesting. Then the second book I got is Hellbent by Leigh Bardugo, and this is the sequel to Ninth House. I actually haven't read Ninth House, but I've been wanting to read it for so long, so I feel like me now owning the sequel will force me to finally read Ninth House, and then I can read Hellbent. And these books involve wealth, power, murder, magic, Yale University, secret societies, and it just sounds so good. And Book of the Month is the sponsor of today's video. They are a really popular online book service for readers, and their goal is to promote new and emerging authors, which I love. I feel like we hear about the same popular authors over and over and over again. And their team vets hundreds of books each month, and then it gives their readers a choice from a curated selection, so you can spend more time reading and less time researching what you want your next read to be. And Book of the Month is completely risk-free. You can skip any month, anytime, and you will not be charged. Plus, they have the best prices for new release hardcovers. You can get your first book for just $9.99 with my code NEWYEAR. So make sure to click the link in my description and use my code to get started and get your first book from Book of the Month. Next up are all of the books that you guys sent me, which is so sweet that you guys have sent me some books. Like, I'm truly honored every time I open an Amazon package and it's from one of you guys, so thank you guys so much. The first one is Killjoy, which is a little novella prequel to the A Good Girl's Guide to Murder series. When I found out there was a prequel, I was so excited. I love A Good Girl's Guide to Murder. If you're not familiar with it, it's a young adult murder mystery and it's so good. And in this book, Pip goes to a murder mystery themed dinner party, and I feel like we're hopefully gonna find out more about how Pip got really interested in murder mysteries. Too Hot to Handle by Tessa Bailey. I love Tessa Bailey and I have not heard of this book by her. So one of you guys recommended it to me and sent it to me and I was like, oh my gosh, a book I haven't heard of. Incredible. I actually do not know what it's about. I'm going to read the summary. Okay, so this book is about Rita, who gets stranded because her car broke down, and she's also with her 3 siblings. And the rescue that shows up is Jasper, a hunky, attractive man with a bad boy reputation that he does not like. It kind of reminds me of Hook, Line, and Sinker, which is also by Tessa Bailey, because that book is about Fox, who has this like bad boy player reputation, but underneath that he's like so sweet and he doesn't want that reputation. That's like not who he is. So I feel like that's going to be the case with Jasper, that he has this player reputation that's not really him. Then Weather Girl by Rachel Lynn Solomon. The only other Rachel Lynn Solomon book I read was, oh my gosh, what was it called? The X-Talk. That's what it was called, The X-Talk. I thought The X-Talk was a really fun concept, but I didn't love the book for some reason. It was really well written. I just didn't like really bond with the characters, but I've been really wanting to give Rachel and Solomon a second chance because, like I said, I feel like The X-Talk was just like almost a hit for me, but not quite. And so I've been wanting to read another book by her. And Weather Girl has been on my list for so long. Number 1, because look at this cover. Isn't this cover so cute? And I love the yellow spine. This is one of my favorite romance covers I've ever seen. I think it's adorable. And the plot sounds so cute and so unique. It's about a TV meteorologist and a sports reporter who scheme to reunite their divorced bosses with unforecasted results in this electrifying romance. And that's so cute. I've never ever read a book about a sports reporter and a TV meteorologist. Then we have Crave. I know this series is so popular and I'm so excited to finally read it. Also, I did not realize this book is thick. Oh my gosh, it's over 550 pages. But yeah, the main reason that I'm really excited to read this book is because it's a fantasy romance between a mortal human girl and a vampire. And I have never read anything vampire related. Like, I never had my Twilight phase. I never watched The Vampire Diaries. Like, I really don't think I've consumed any vampire related media. So this will be like my dive into a vampire book. I'm also excited because it says that the mortal human girl stepped inside the academy. So I'm hoping maybe we have a little dark academia-y vibes with this academy. Then I got a few library books. I got 2 Mariana Zapata books. I have only read one book by her, which was The Wall of Winnipeg and Me, and I really liked it. It's like a mega slow burn. It's a football romance. So I was like, I need to read more books by her. So I just went and searched whatever Mariana Zapata books are available in my library, and it was these 2. And I lucked out because this one is actually the sequel to The Wall of Winnipeg and Me. I'm pretty sure it can be read as a standalone because it follows a different main character. It follows Zach, who was the main character in The Wall of Winnipeg and Me's roommate. And Zach, he's from Texas. He's got that like southern charm. He's also a football player. He was so kind in the first book, and I think this is gonna be a friends to lovers is what it sounds like from the summary. Then the second book I got, the plot is kind of generic, so I don't really know exactly what it's gonna be about. It says, Diana has a new house, 2 little boys she inherited the most painfully possible way, a giant dog, a job she usually loves, more than enough family and friends. She has almost everything she could ever ask for except for a boyfriend or a husband. But who needs either of those? So yeah, it doesn't sound like that unique or anything. I feel like that wasn't giving much from the summary, but I'm sure it will be a great slow burn. Then I got You'll Be the Death of Me by Karen M. McManus. I've read a few Karen M. McManus books. I'm pretty sure she only writes young adult mystery, or at least that's all I've read by her. And I think all of her books are really fun. They always feature multiple POVs, which I think is super fun. And this one follows Ivy, Mateo, and Cal. So we should have 3 POVs in this one. And it sounds really interesting. It says all 3 students are planning to skip school until they spot another Carleton High student skipping school as well and follow him to the scene of his own murder. And that sounds wild. And then lastly for the library book, I got 4 Aunties and a Wedding, which is the sequel to Dial A for Aunties. I love Dial A for Aunties. It's like murder mystery meets romance meets comedy, and I've never read a book before that combined all of those genres so well. I thought it was so fun, like one of the most unique books I've read. So I've been really wanting to read the sequel, but I've heard kind of mixed things about the sequel. I've heard some people don't like this book, so I'm also kind of scared to read it because I have such a high opinion of the first book that I don't want this one to ruin my opinion of the first book if it's not as good, but hopefully I'll like it. Then I got a book from an author in Phoenix. She personally sent me this book, which was very kind that she reached out and sent it to me, and it's called Let It Fall. And she sent me a little summary. She said it's childhood best friends to lovers, soulmates, closed door romance, and slow burn. And then also has the climax from the antagonist point of view, which I think is really interesting. I don't think I've ever read a book with any POV from the antagonist point of view, let alone like the climax itself. And then I would also recommend checking the trigger warnings for this book because she said it's an emotional romance with dark themes. And yeah, it sounds really good. It's basically about Chris, who's been in love with his friend Giselle his entire life, and he's afraid of ruining their friendship, so he's kept his feelings secret for 18 years, only to lose her to Xavier. Next up is a book that Berkeley Romance sent me for free, so thank you so much, Berkeley Romance, for gifting this book to me. It's X's and O's, and first of all, love the cover. Isn't this so cute? Anyway, the plot of this book sounds so adorable. It's about a romance novel obsessed social media influencer, which like relatable, who revisits her exes in hopes of securing her very own second chance romance. And she enlists the help of her firefighter roommate, Trevor. So yeah, I just think that sounds like a really fun concept. Like it says she has 10 exes, so the idea of her going back to revisit all of them in hopes of like rekindling something or learning from those relationships with the help of her hot roommate, like I think this is gonna be a hit. And all of the rest of the books that I'm going to talk about were sent to me by authors or publishing companies, so big thank you to all of them. This next one was gifted to me by Vintage and Anchor Books, and this is Sizzle Reel. And it's about aspiring cinematographer Luna, who comes out as bisexual at 24, and she's determined to get the girl, and that girl is an A-list actress. Which, like, again, I love books about the movie industry, especially because in college I studied film and my focus was cinematography, so I feel like it's gonna be really cool reading about somebody who's an aspiring cinematographer. And I also love books where one of the characters is a celebrity, so I feel like it's going to be a really fun dynamic between Luna, the cinematographer, and the A-list movie star actress. Now, these next 3 books were sent to me by Underline, which is the young adult division of Penguin Random House. The first one is Highly Suspicious and Unfairly Cute by Talia Hibbert. Now, I know Talia Hibbert is so popular for writing the Get a Life Chloe Brown series, but I never read that series or any book by Talia Hibbert, and I've really been wanting to read a book by her, so I'm so happy that I finally have a book to read by her. Oh my gosh, I just read the summary for the first time. The tropes in this book. Okay, it's a sports romance. The main guy is a football player. It's also childhood best friends to enemies to lovers. That's like so many tropes I love in one book. And it all takes place in the wilderness because Celine and Bradley are forced to work together as a team while doing a survival course in the woods. I feel like this just has everything I love in books. Then next up is Song of Silver Flame Like Night, and this book really caught my attention because it's a fantasy that is inspired by the mythology and folklore of ancient China, which sounds really, really cool. I know absolutely nothing about the mythology and folklore of ancient China, so I feel like that's going to be really, really interesting to learn about. And just overall, the plot sounds really cool. It's about a fallen kingdom, magic, and a girl with a mysterious mark on her arm. And I think it has a romance subplot. I'm not for sure. It's kind of hard to tell from the description. It says that a boy appears and saves her life. This boy seems like a big part of the plot, but just like the romance person in me, I'm like, oh, there are two characters. Maybe they're gonna fall in love, you know, and maybe there's no romance, I don't know. Then we've got Friday, I'm in Love, and it said that this book is a love letter to romantic comedies, Sweet 16 parties, Black joy, and queer pride, which I love, and I actually have not read the summary, so I'm going to do that. This sounds so cute. It's about a girl who always wanted a Sweet 16, but it's too late for her to have a Sweet 16. I'm guessing she's older than 16, so she decides to have a coming out party. At the same time, she's also flirting with the super cute new girl. And it says this book is about finding yourself, falling in love, and celebrating what makes you, you. Then these next books were sent to me by Penguin Random House, and the first one is Solomon's Crown. And this is a love story between two kings. It reimagines the real life complicated relationship between Richard the Lionheart and King Philip of France. And it says it's filled with royal intrigue and betrayal as these two real life kings have to make a decision between following their hearts or earning their place in history. And I've heard that if you like The Song of Achilles, then you will like this book. And I loved The Song of Achilles, so I feel like I'll also really like this book. So I feel like this will be really interesting, especially because it's based on two real life people. So we'll get to learn about the history of these kingdoms in this reimagined romance. Then The Things We Do to Our Friends, which is a thriller. And it says it's about toxic friend groups, unreliable protagonists with dark secrets, outcasts reinventing themselves, and rich people behaving horribly. I love that it said it's about unreliable protagonists. I feel like it's so interesting when we have an unreliable narrator, especially in like a thriller suspense novel, because you don't know what to believe. You're like, are the words the narrator is telling you true? You don't know because they're unreliable. Did I just mansplain unreliable narrators to you? Anyway, and also that it's about rich people behaving horribly. I don't know why, but just like obscenely rich characters are so interesting to me because I cannot fathom what that world is like. Then we've got Sam by Allegra Goodman, and this book is about Sam as she transitions from girlhood to womanhood. And the book starts out when she's 7 years old, so I feel like that's gonna be really cool to see her like literally grow up. And it says that the book involves themes like class, parenthood, fitting in, grief, addiction, lust, and the power of dreams. So I feel like this book sounds like it deals with a lot of important topics. Then I've got Someone Had to Do It by twin authors Amber and Danielle Brown, and they personally sent me this book, which was so sweet. And this book is a thriller and it sounds so interesting. It's about Brandy, who interns at a New York fashion house, which just getting a peek into like the world of fashion sounds really interesting. And it's also about model and influencer Taylor, whose father is a fashion mogul, but is threatening to donate her inheritance to charity if she fails her next drug test. And she'll go to any lengths to get his inheritance, even if it means sacrificing her famous father. All she needs is a perfect person to take the fall. And it says that involves murder, drugs, secrets, and rich people who suck. So I feel like I'm gonna love this. It sounds like all of the elements for like a really fun thriller. And that is all the books that I have for this book haul. Thank you to everybody who sent me books. And I'm trying to like low-key go on a book buying ban until I finish all of my physical TBR. I have no self-control, so don't hold me to that because I will probably break that book buying ban, but this may be one of my last book hauls for a little while until I make more of a dent in my physical TBR, if I can exercise self-control. Anyway, let me know if any of you guys have read any of the books in this video. Which ones should I prioritize? Which ones are the best? Sometimes I get overwhelmed with my physical TBR. I'm like, I don't even know where to start. Which book do I read next? And with that, I will see you guys in my next video. Bye!